Here is the 1985 RZ500 I brought home in a U-Haul trailer. Then I made this stand using plans off of the internet. I got the bike up on the stand. I really wanted to start this beast up. But before I would do that, I knew these carburetors had to be rebuilt. Here we go. Fortunately, the previous owner supplied a complete carburetor rebuild kit, so I labeled all the cables and took the carburetors off for a rebuild. I had 4 of these rebuild kits. And there you go, rebuilt and back on the motorcycle. I did end up getting the engine started while it was up on the stand. It sounded great, it was running pretty good, but it seemed to be making a lot of extra little noises. I decided, since most of this bike was pretty much a hack job, I didn't really trust the way the engine was assembled, so I figured I would take the engine out and get it rebuilt. These are just a bunch of random photos I took so that I could put the thing back together in the future. I was going to rebuild the engine myself, but in the middle of other projects I decided to take another route with the engine. Details to follow. Looking at these photos, you can see this is a pretty complicated motorcycle. There's bits and pieces all over the place, wiring all over the place, just stuff everywhere. So the disassembly process begins. My sincere apologies if any of these photos are out of order. I'm doing my best to keep them in order. See the 2 cardboard angled brackets? Those are RZV specific parts. I had to go out and find those along with several other RZV specific parts. The JL pipes had some damage. I made a fixture to attempt to pressurize them to get the dents to pop out, then decided to send them off to a quote-unquote professional. They did not do a very good job at all. In fact, I sent them 2 pipes and then they turned around and sent 1 back. They had to find the second one and ship it to me. That was quite a mess to sort out, but I finally got the other one. Here is some pipe porn after getting the pipes electropolished. The top end had just been redone and is standard bore with brand new Yamaha parts. The engine was crated up and shipped off to Rick Lance in North Carolina. It weighed in at 147 pounds. The longer shafts you see here are RZV specific parts. The shift lever and the brake lever are also RZV specific parts. The forks and brake splitter you see here went onto an RZ350 project. This is an 0607 R6 swing arm. RGV Steve suggested a 2008 to 2014 R6 swing arm. The R6 swing arm and R6 triple clamps were sent to RGV Steve for modification. And here they are, back from Florida. The guy does beautiful work. There was 0 problems with fitment on these parts. Here I am checking alignment to ensure everything is properly aligned. Then disassemble everything to get it ready for powder coat. Here's a few of the parts going off to the powder coater, and a few more, and a few more. Let's not forget these items, many of which were not used. At some point, the engine made it back into my possession. It looks like I may have had to go pick it up. I really don't remember. Clearly, the engine moved around in there a little bit, or it was rocking or something. Given the damage that was done to the crate, Rick did not want this one back. It's starting to look like something, isn't it? And here's some more one-off custom Ken's Garage brackets that are getting fabbed, and they need to be sent out for powder coat. On the RZ500 forum, I set up a group buy for these Wilbur shocks. Mine was ordered 3/8 inch longer than stock to get the rear end lifted a little bit. How about some triple clamp assembly using RGV Steve custom parts? And my first experience rebuilding upside down forks. I may never do this again. The new key switch assembly required a little trim job. Then I was trying to get it level with the top of the triple clamp using various spacers and such. There we go. Here I am monkeying around with fitment and brackets to mount the power valve servo so it doesn't mash into the swing arm. A couple more iterations and powder coat and this bracket was finally done. The stock radiator and fan were cleaned up and installed. Then I fabbed up a rock guard out of some stainless steel wire cloth. The beautiful powder coated rear subframe was installed. And ultimately not used. When I bought this motorcycle, the hull came with a whole set of AirTech bodywork. At first I thought that was pretty cool. Looking at it closely, this stuff was horrible. It was very thin and very wavy. I started putting it on and the tail section looked really fat to me. So I looked at what I could do to trim it down a bit, but ultimately I knew I could not work with this stuff. Eventually it was sold to a fellow in Texas. Here there was interference on one of the upper pipes, so I had to cut one of the tabs off of the powder coated frame. I started experimenting with a 2006 tail section, a pre-fuel injection R6 tank, and then here it is with the RZ500 tank. To do this, I had to remove the RZ500 rear subframe and started playing around with various blocks of wood and brackets and so on to see if I could get this thing to fit somehow, some way. This was very tricky. I had to peel back the seat cover, then remove the seat cover with the foam to get to the plastic seat base. The seat base had to be cut, then heated with a heat gun and bent and formed. It took quite some time.